Well, welcome back. This is the third part of my TBR. I had recorded I recorded this video before, and I just hated it. So that's why it's taking so long. I'm sorry. And so I just deleted it, and I'm starting over. So here's to starting over. All right, so I have been reading a bunch of Alien books lately. I read Alien Origins, which is the very first one in the, I don't know if it's canon of Alien books. Alien Covenant is the next one. This one's on my TBR, and this one's what I plan on reading next. So I've read Aliens, Alien 3, and Alien Resurrection, and I'm planning on going back and reading all the ones that are in between, as well as all the omnibus ones that I have up there at some point. All right, so Alien Sea of Sorrows also on the list. Alien Infiltrator. And then I think that's all the Alien ones I have right here. Then I have the omnibus ones, like I said. All right, I also have these books on the list: The Orphan, The Captive, and The Beast by Robert Stallman. I think Orphan is first, then Captive, then Beast. I don't really know anything about these other than I think they're dark fantasy type books, and I've heard just simply that they're good. I actually don't know any plot or details about them at all. Then I have Black Canaan. This is from Robert E. Howard, the author of Conan, or creator of Conan, and these are like dark kind of horror, supposedly horror type short stories. So, and since I've been on such a short story kick, then we're going to start that one soon. Oh, by the way, I plan on starting Wool really soon. My wife picked this one for me at a bookstore. I told her to pick anything except for Stephen King, because I have most Stephen Kings, and this is what she picked out of the horror section. So plan on starting that soon. I also picked up Ring. If you didn't see the little post I made, starting that soon. I literally just started Old Lady by Christopher Triana, and this one's a signed one. That one's going to be read real shortly here. And then Nest of Nightmares by Lisa Tuttle. And this is also a short story collection. So those are my current... Oh, and the new Stephen King book. I'm also reading that one. So I have a lot in the... in the pot. I have a lot in the pot. I have a lot on the furnace, in the oven. Let's go with whatever. You know what I mean. I have a lot being read currently. So, too many. I need to like whittle it down. So Wasp Factory by Ian Banks is one that I've heard a ton about, and that it's super good. And so I'm excited to get to that. Soylent Green is also on the list. This is from Harry Harrison, and the alternate title is Make Room, Make Room. There was a movie that was made about this story starring Charlton Heston back in the Disney. The Spirit by Thomas Page is another one on my list to read. James Blish, A Testament of Andros. And this is Arrow science fiction publisher. Pin by Andrew Niederman, with the cool, maybe, with the cool peekaboo cover. Peekaboo. Okay, so I've heard great things about that one. I'm excited to read it. If you didn't know, Andrew Niederman is the ghostwriter for pretty much every B.C. Andrews book that's been written for quite a while now. Fear Today, Gone Tomorrow by Robert Bloch. I absolutely loved Psycho by Bloch, so I'm really excited to get to more Bloch. More Octavia Butler that I'd like to read. This is Dawn, and this is book 1 of the Xenogenesis series. I don't know the other ones in the series, but I'd like to, since I love Kindred so much, I'd like to read some more Butler. Philip Jose Farmer, Stone God Awakens. This one is one that I've had probably a year and a half now, 2 years maybe, on my list. So I really need to get to that one. And I haven't read any Philip Jose Farmer yet, so good place to start, I guess. Game Over by Joseph Locke. And let me read it. This is why I picked it up. When Hades, a new video arcade, opens downtown, all the teenagers in Dinsmore are thrilled. Bare and eerie, the arcade boasts the newest and hottest video games. It's a totally appealing place for Joe. I mean, he's a video game buff, but at Hades, all the video games are not only violent. The figures on the screen take on familiar faces and characteristics of people Joe knows from school. Soon, the teenagers in Dinsmore are not only committing the most bizarre, violent acts, they're dying one by one. What's really happening at Hades? So, it just sounded kind of interesting and cool. Oh no. Oh good. Okay. I thought it was missing the first few pages. So, thought it'd be fun to throw on there. Why not? Another Octavia Butler. And this is Adulthood Rights. If you've read either of these by Butler, let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Let me grab another stack. Be so kind. Be so kind of you to like the video. Throw a comment. The more comments that go, the more the algorithm picks it up. The more likes it has, the more the algorithm picks it up. And if you could sub, that'd be awesome. Because we're getting close to like 850, and it'd be cool if we could hit 1,000 like at least before the end of the year. I mean, what, we're like halfway through the year. Should be able to, right? If I can keep videos up. So if you guys can do that, that'd be awesome. Maybe do this. I'm gonna read Locust by Guy and Smith. Throw a locust emoji in the comments. There you go. I'll see how many of you actually got that far. So that's one on the list. I don't know. Corny, cheesy, I know. But why not? Who cares? Half of what you watch on YouTube is cheesy and corny anyway. All right, Jay Posey's Outriders. This is just a sci-fi, I think, kind of space opera. Let's see, what was it? I think it said something like so-and-so died. And I was like, that's just the first page. Oh yeah, spoiler alert. The main character dies on page 1, and then things get very interesting. Thrilling science fiction that grabs and doesn't let go. So, I was like, saw that. I think I got it at the thrift store, and I was like, all right, sounds cool. Northern Australia by Cordwainer Smith. That one's been on the list so long. 30 Days of Night, Eternal Damnation. If you don't know, I love horror. I mean, I hope you figured that out by now. I also love zombie stuff, and I'm starting to really love vampire stuff. So I have every comic from 30 Days of Night, the entire series I own, as well as all the well, there's only 2 movies, but the 2 movies, I really love them. So, yeah, anyways, I'll stop. Okay, so Wizard of Oz, L. Frank Baum, and this is, I have a whole series of the Wizard of Oz, and I think it's like 15 different books in the series or something like that. I would love to read through all of them at some point, and so I threw that one, and I think the second one is in here somewhere on the list. But I have like Wizard of Oz, and I'm planning on possibly reading like the whole Hobbit, Lord of the Rings, and then my daughter and I are going to start the Chronicles of Narnia. So that's a lot of like fantasy for me, and I'm not a huge fantasy person, so we'll see. I might have to space all that out a lot. The Protectorate by Mick Farren. I don't really know anything about this. It just looks really cool. Check out that cover. I mean, it looks like a xenomorph almost, but like bred with like an ant or something. I don't know. Look cool. I found this one at a thrift store. Or no, sorry. I saw this one at a bookstore one time. It was extremely overpriced. It was like, I don't know, like $50 or something they had, because it was vintage horror. And then I just went online and looked real quick on eBay, and it was like $8. So I bought it online instead of at the bookstore. I try to support bookstores wherever I can, but I also spend a lot of money at bookstores. So if I can't just overspend all the time. So anyways, I did that. I bought it online, and it just looked really cool. So I'm excited to read that one at some point. Deadline. This is the, I think last time I called it the News Feed series, but I believe it's News Flesh series. And I read the first one, which was Feed, and it was really good. It was a zombie book, but it has a kind of a different take to it. And I really, really enjoyed it. The characters were okay. They weren't like, I don't know, they weren't like super duper special, but they weren't annoying and obnoxious. And it was just an enjoyable read. It felt natural to read it. I don't know, I was just into it. More coffee. All right, so this is the Collapsing Empire by John Scalzi. I think it's called the Interdependency series, and I believe there's only 3 in this one. So I've loved Old Man's War so much. It is still one of my favorite books that I've read in a really long time. It may be one of my favorite books of all time. It's in my top 10 of all time, I think. So I love it so much. I have 2 more Old Man's War books to go, and then I'm going to start on that Collapsing Empire trilogy from Scalzi. So Out of the Silent Planet, Perelandria, and then That Hideous Strength by C.S. Lewis. I've heard these are fantastic. Android's Dream by John Scalzi. I know nothing about this, but I do want to read everything Scalzi's written. And I've already got the most horrible one out of the way, so not a problem. If you don't know, it's the God Engines. No need to ever buy that book. Maybe the only book I wanted to chuck across the room because it was so terrible. The Syndic by C.M. Kornbluth. Just sounds good. I need some more corn Bluth. I have never, ever read 1984 by George Orwell. I know. Even it's even on the back. It just says unbelievable. I didn't go to. If you guys don't know, I like dropped out of high school when I was in 10th grade. So kids, if you're any kids that are watching, stay in school. I dropped out of high school when I was in 10th grade. I was a major drug addict when I was a teenager, like very bad. And from like teenage to early 20s. And I pretty much destroyed my life. Anyways, I dropped out of high school when I was in 10th grade. I went back when I was in 11th grade, and I completed from 11th to almost the end of my 12th grade year. I completed my 10th, 11th, and 12th. So I took 2 extra classes in the, I took 1 in the morning and 2 in the afternoon to get as many credits as I could. Someone told me, you can do it, and they positively, encouraged me to do what was good. And so for whatever reason I did, and I went to a continuation school. They helped me. They made me feel like I understood stuff. Anyways, why am I telling you all this? Because I never went to like an English lit class or like a something where like in English where you would, everybody's like, oh yeah, I read 1984 and I read Slaughterhouse-Five and I read, I don't know, whatever the books are, Of Mice and Men, and I don't know, whatever those books are that are like mandatory required reading for school. I never did. So I've read some of them because I wanted to. And anyways, long story longer, I went back, and like I said, in 12th grade, and I dropped out like 3 months before I was going to graduate. Really stupid. So then when I was like 19, I went back and I asked the principal of the continuation school. I said, is there any way I can finish school? And he said, yeah, I'm going to give you stuff to do at home. You do all the work, you turn it in, I'll grade it, and you can have your diploma. And so I did it, and I actually graduated with an actual high school diploma. So, yay. So anyways, all that because I was just saying I haven't read 1984 yet. Sometimes I annoy myself. Sometimes I like feel like I need to read more now to make up for lost time. So maybe that's why I read more than I used to, or made it more important. I don't know. Okay, Robert Charles Wilson's Spin. I've heard a lot of great things about that, and I really want to read it. If you've read it, tell me. Splinter of the Mind's Eye. This is was supposed to be a sequel to, I believe, the very first Star Wars. I think what happened is the first Star Wars was made, and then Alan Dean Foster was contracted to write a sequel to it, I believe, and he did. And then George Lucas decided not to go that route and went the route of like Empire Strikes Back, and so this is kind of like a sequel to it, but not officially now. But what I've heard is this is really good. So excited to get to that. I have never really been that excited about reading a Star Wars book, other than the Trooper one that I have. Like, it's like they're all bloody on it. I can't remember the name of it right now, but those two I'm excited to read. The Spear by James Herbert. This is a story about, I thought it was about the spear that had pierced Christ's side, but I don't think so. It may have something to do with that in there, but mostly this is like a ritualistic spear that's used for black magic type stuff, and they're trying to hunt it down and stop the end of the world kind of thing. So it sounds good. Slugs by Sean Hudson. So, around here I don't really love Peter Watts' writing. There's the one short story in his book that has to do with the movie The Thing, and it's told from like the aliens' perspective of The Thing, and so I did like that. I read Starfish, which is the first book in this series. Maelstrom is the second, and then Behemoth. I think there's two Behemoths that are the two part of the third. Starfish, it had its pros and cons. There was good and bad about it. It was very weird, and something about his style I just don't like. But it has lingered with me for a long time. So I think I'm ready to start this next one. And the ending of Starfish was good too. I liked the ending. I think I'm ready to read this one at some point. I don't know. Every time I pick up a Peter Watts, I'm like disappointed. But yet I keep doing it. All right, The Abyss. One of my favorite movies of all time is The Abyss. I loved this movie. I still love this movie. And this one's written by Orson Scott Card and based on the James Cameron novel. I'm not sure if this was written before, after, at the same time. I don't know. I know the book Alien that Alan Dean Foster wrote, he wrote before the movie came out, and he wrote it with no information about the alien. So they didn't want to spoil the creature. So he had to kind of creatively make it up as he wrote through Alien, and I think he had very minimal details. So the alien's never really described in the first one, which is kind of cool. Tim Lebbins, The Silence, and I think this one's made into a movie. There is a movie called The Silence, and it came out around the time of that same one with Sandra Bullock where she's blindfolded, Bird Box, which I also loved. That book and that movie was super good. But this, I think it's the same one, the movie based on Silence. All right, Something Wicked This Way Comes by Bradbury. I've heard great things about this one, so I did like The Illustrated Man. I enjoyed, so looking forward to that one. We Who Are About To by Joanna Russ. What remains human in an inhuman world? The will to live, the right to die. A multi-dimensional explosion hurled the starship's few passengers across the galaxies and onto an uncharted barren tundra. With no technical skills and scant supplies, the survivors face a bleak end in an alien world. One brave woman held the daring answer, but it was the most desperate one possible. Sounds good. So, excited for that. Doris Pacercia with a fantastic cover. And this is Earth in Twilight. I also have Spaceling, I think, and The Spinner on my list from Pacertia. Rampage, this one's been on there for a while, by L.V. Roper, and just looked kind of cool, so I threw it on my list. Nova by Delaney, one of his most famous novels, as well as Dahlgren, and The Dispossessed by Le Guin. I've never read a Le Guin novel. Sorry. Sorry, not sorry. So, I don't know. Is this the best one? Left-Handed Darkness, maybe? I don't know. There's a fly that is violating my face every few seconds, and I'm sure you can see it on camera. It's that time of year where it's super warm and the flies are everywhere. I even have a little A Simple Plan by Scott Smith. He only wrote 2 books, The Ruins and this one, and The Ruins was awesome, so I've heard that one's awesome too. Holy cow, that must be a different price, like not dollars. Okay, it's 42. Dubai duty free. It's got to be like, I don't know what Dubai's dollars is, or what their monetary system is. So anyways, Greg Bear Vitals. I don't know if I'm going to read this one, actually, to be honest. So I'm going to set that aside. I didn't like War Dogs very much. I did love Blood Music. So we'll see. I'll read the premise on it and see. Bloodworm by John Halkin. This one has one of the best covers. Very rare paperback from Hell book. And I'm super excited for this. He also wrote Slime and Slither, which I think I have Slither. I might have Slime on there too. I don't remember. We'll find out in a minute. Suspense. Here's another Aliens one. This is Cauldron by Diane Carey. So that one's on the alien list. Slob by Rex Miller, and Chain Gang, which I believe is the sequel. There might be one more. I gotta find out. There might be one more before or after. There might be a couple more actually, but those 2 are in kind of a series. The Year of the Quiet Sun by Wilson Tucker. Breeding Ground, sequel to Slugs. I'm excited for. What Dreams May Come by Richard Matheson. Christopher Priest, Inverted World. It's supposed to be fantastic. The Visitors by Clifford Simak. This one sounds super good. It is this big giant spaceship shows up and then all heck breaks loose. All right, Hal Clement's Needle. This one's been on my list for a while too. The Cellar by Richard Lehman. Any other Richard Lehman books I should add? I've heard he's kind of hit and miss. So this is a short story collection Alfred Hitchcock presents. It has a Richard Matheson in it, which is one of the reasons I threw it on the list. There's, let's see, who else is in it? So Hal Dresner, Henry Slezzer, Margaret St. Clair, and that's about all I know. So kind of excited for that short story collection. All right, Grass by Sherry S. Tepper. It's been on my list forever, so that's one that I've been wanting to get to. Whoops. Cold Print by Ramsey Campbell. Love that cover. F. Paul Wilson, The Touch. The Keep is the first one, and I couldn't find my copy of The Keep. It's somewhere around here. And so I kind of threw this one on there so that I could remember to put The Keep on there. So it's The Keep, The Tomb, and The Touch. And then I think there might be a couple more after that. Another Octavia Butler. This is Clay's Ark. Squelch by John Halkin. So I thought I had Slime, but it's Squelch. I know I have Slither. Human Division by Scalzi. This is the next in the Old Man's War. And then I believe it's The End of All Things is the last one. So I need to put that one over here. I need to start that soon. It's been a little while since I've read me some Scalzi. Black Easter and Day After Judgment. I have the Avon Prince. I'm actually reading through the hardback that has both of them in it. This one. Devil's Day. These ones are just kind of placeholders. I've already read Black Easter. Wasn't that great. I think I gave it 3 stars on Goodreads. If you don't know, you can go to Goodreads and search up Vintage Viking, and I'm trying to keep up on it a little more. Day After Judgment, like sometimes I don't add my books that I've read for like 3 months, but I'm really trying to now. Day After Judgment is the next one. I will finish this one. These Avon prints are awesome, so those are on the list. William Dobson, Fangs, looks pretty good. Jack Vance, The Blue World. I had this one on my list forever, and I finally found a copy of it, a doll version. There's another version with like ships on it that I wanted, but I didn't get that one. And I think it's sort of similar to like a Waterworld type scenario. I don't know. It's a very good scenario. I love that. I'm reading The Drowned World by J.G. Ballard right now, and it's kind of like that, where the world is, the environment is, there's things going on where it's getting super hot near the equator, and water is, for whatever reason, overflowing everything, and there's lots of soot, and plant life's growing like crazy, sort of similar to like a canopy over the earth type thing, and it's pretty cool. I don't know, maybe a third or a little more, somewhere around there of the way through. So it's really good. J.G. Ballard, it's his first major novel, and it's written so well. His descriptions of stuff, like how he describes like the sunset and the water and the surroundings, it's so good. I'm super impressed. John Wyndham's The Midwich Cuckoos, I've wanted to read for a while. That's on there. Another one I've never read, Animal Farm by George Orwell. So, Silverberg, Dying Inside. Heard Silverberg is fantastic. And Let's Go Play at the Atoms by Mendel Johnson, with an introduction by Grady Hendrix. I almost rebought this at Barnes & Noble the other day when I went. I couldn't remember if I had it. And so I was like, I had it in my hand. I was like, I think I have this. I'm pretty sure I do. I know I wanted it, but I'm going to get it. And I was like, no, I'll just pick something else. And if I need to, I'll get it later. So I'm glad I didn't buy it a second time, which has happened. All right, Vampires by John Stakely. I believe he only wrote 2 novels as well. So Armor is one, and Vampires. John Wyndham, Trouble with Lichen. Excited to get to that one. Robert Heinlein, The Moon as a Harsh Mistress. Burning Chrome by William Gibson. This is a short story collection that is supposed to be very, very good. The Deep Range by Arthur C. Clarke. Just undersea novel that sounds awesome. My daughter just came home. This is how she showed up. We're going to knock the camera over. Let's finish it up. James Herbert, Sepulchre, on the list. Here's the second one of Wizard of Oz. So, Land of Oz. Yeah, there's at least 14. Ooh. Shrine by James Herbert. Death Spore by Harry Adam Knight. And I think this is the same book as The Fungus, which looked awesome. So I'm super excited for this one. Kurt Vonnegut, Slaughterhouse-Five. I haven't really super been excited to read this one, but it's one of those ones I feel like I have to. Camp Concentration, Thomas Dish. This one, 334, and what other Dish ones are there that I need to read? I'm in the middle of the first book in the Supernatural Minnesota series, which is The Businessman, and so that's a 4-part series, which I don't know if I'm gonna rate them straight through together. I may mix it up and throw another 334 or Camp Concentration in the mix there somewhere. The Abyss by Steve Vance. It's a classic vintage horror. The Carnelian Cube by Elsprog de Camp and Fletcher Pratt. this one just looked pretty cool. Body Snatchers by Jack Finney. Looks great. Classic. The Dark Between the Stars by Paul Anderson. This is a short story collection of supposedly horror type short stories written by Paul Anderson. It says where the universe ends, the horror begins. It has a great cover. I don't know if you can see all the details of that very well, but it's just lots going on there. And I have read part of that at some point, just like a couple different shorts out of it. But I'm going to probably go back and reread them all. Plague from Space by Harry Harrison. Just another Harrison one that sounds fantastic. I just threw Edward Lee on the list because I haven't read any Edward Lee yet. So, and I see his name all over everywhere. This one's The Golem. If there's other Edward Lees that you would recommend, let me know and I'll add them. The Prodigal by Melanie Tem. This one is from the same era as like The Cipher by Kathy Koja. I think it might have even come out the same year. The Survivor by James Herbert. Not one that I'm familiar with at all. Let's read it. It began with a faint whispering, then a low, evil chuckle. A shiver of fear coursed along his spine. Then he saw them, the long, pointed fingers. Sounds good. Each with a life of its own, slithering towards him. And suddenly, the hideous hand with nothing behind it was reaching out to grasp him in the grisly, intimately cold embrace of death. It had been one of the worst crashes in airline history, killing over 300 people and leaving only one survivor. Now the dead were buried and the town of Eton tried to forget, until the young girl was found, screaming hysterically about malevolently grinning dolls and creatures of darkness. Until the fisherman's body was brought ashore, his face set in a grimace of utter terror. Until the priest was discovered cringing beneath the altar. The town was forced to face the shocking, dreadful truth about what was buried in the old graveyard, The Survivor. A mind-shattering novel of gruesome horror. Sounds good. Bob Shaw, Cosmic Kaleidoscope. I believe this is a short story collection. Yeah. So, short story collection by Bob Shaw. Here's The Fog. This is the other Herbert one I've really wanted to read. And I specifically sought after this cover. That is the best cover for that. Inherit the Stars by James P. Hogan. This is a very well-known vintage sci-fi. I've actually seen this hardcover in like, like half-price books. I've seen it there for like, I don't know, a ridiculous amount of money for a first edition of this one. So I think it has some value because it was such a well-known book. Unearthed by Ashley McConnell. And this one just vintage horror that looked really good. Total Recall. This one is like the front inside cover of Paperbacks from Hell. And I had never heard of it, so I saw that picture. I looked in the back at where, what book it was from, and I went ahead and ordered it because, I don't know, I just really liked it. And so I wanted to have it. Okay, The Cosmic Rape by Ted Sturgeon, Theodore Sturgeon, vintage sci-fi. John Scalzi's The Fuzzy Nation, or Fuzzy Nation, not The Fuzzy Nation. And I believe H. Beam Piper wrote all the Fuzzy books before, and so I think this is a kind of in that same universe retelling of one of those by Scalzi. I'm sure it's going to be awesome. So like I mentioned earlier, I'm reading J.G. Ballard's The Drowned World, which is a world with an overabundance of water, and this one is the drought or the thirsting world. And so it's kind of a polar opposite of the one that I'm reading now. So maybe I'll pick this one up right after. The Drowned World is so good. It's written so well right now. I'm super into it. John Helkins Slither. There's the other one. Apparently I need to find Slime because I don't know if I have that now. Slither on the list. Space Vampires by Colin Wilson. So another vampire novel. I think this one's pretty valuable. Hard to find vintage sci-fi vampire story. Ship of Strangers by Bob Shaw. This one is a novel from Shaw. And I threw a couple on there. And then the Solarians by Norman Spinrad. And this was one that I've had on the list for a long time too. I love the cover. And last on my list here is The Wicker Man. And this is by Robin Hardy and Anthony Schaefer. So that's all my TBR currently that I have. Everything I have. And I have these shelves, these lower shelves right here. These ones. And then I have another set of like 3, 4 down here that I put them on. And so all my current TBR stuff goes right there. Definitely not getting to all this stuff or that stuff by the end of the year. But my goal this year is to read 150 books. Again, last year I read a little over 150. I want to at least get that same amount. I think I'm a little bit behind right now. So we'll see. I have not counted them yet. And I didn't count them last year until the end of the year. So, but I feel like I'm a little bit behind. So we'll see. We'll see. All right. Appreciate you guys. I'll catch you on the next one. Thank you. Peace.